of UK in a changing Europe. He joins us now from London, and it really was a big turnaround, wasn't it, last night? And a lot of people really heartened by the response from everyday people just wanting to reclaim their streets effectively.
Absolutely, yeah. There was a big change in tone, a big change in mood. There was a palpable sense of relief in the country that violence had been avoided. And as you say, the people on the street last night were predominantly, for the most part, anti-racism protesters. I mean, that being said, I think we need to avoid too much mutual backslapping, because clearly we've seen some unacceptable scenes this week that we've got a lot to think about, whether it's the role of social media in generating violence, whether it is the vulnerability of some of these places where asylum seekers are being housed. We come out of this with plenty to think about, but on balance, after last night, I think we can feel a lot more positive than we did earlier.
Yeah, and it's early days, as you say. Those right-wingers haven't gone away. Well, a few of them have, because they're being locked up with pretty severe sentences. This is part of the government strategy. But the sentiment is still there, and it could flare up again. I mean, some people arguing that, this was a Thursday, perhaps people weren't drinking as much, so they'll leave it to the weekend. I mean, what's your feeling about what might happen from here?
I mean, I can't predict what's going to happen. It seems to me that, weekends seem to be times when people go out and drink far more. So obviously dependent on the weather. The forecast for this weekend is bright and sunny, so that will make a difference. And I think also, above and beyond the sort of immediacy of the protest, we need to think about the fact that, there is a small minority in this country that is significantly dissatisfied with immigration policies, asylum policies, and things like that. And those flames have been fanned, I think, by years of pretty irresponsible political rhetoric that, it's very noticeable that some of the anti-immigrant protesters on the streets were chanting "Stop the Boats," which was precisely the slogan of the Sunak government. So again, there are things to reflect on here above and beyond the immediacy of the riots and the protests.
Yeah, it's an interesting point you make, because it has been noted that we talk about places like France, you talk about the rise of the far right. There's a similar right-wing movement here in the UK, but it's effectively mainstream because centrist governments are adopting right-wing policies like "Stop the Boats."
Yeah, I think you're absolutely spot on that actually too often we congratulate ourselves because, populist parties aren't in power, while forgetting that in some places centre-right parties adopt the policies of the populist right, so effectively, their agenda is in power. It's worth putting it into context. I mean, we're talking about a relatively small minority. I mean, one of the things that is striking about the United Kingdom at the moment is over the last sort of 7 or 8 years, since our referendum on EU membership, overall public opinion on immigration has become significantly more positive than it was then. This isn't a country where the majority of people think immigration is a massive problem, but there is a very vocal minority, some of whom we saw on the streets, for whom it is the priority issue and who want to cause trouble about it.